a quick cheers. Cheers, brother. All right, everybody. It's the 107th episode of Silicon Zombies, where we bring you the best brains from the Bay to Beyond. My name is Nick Larson, and we've also got...
Hi, I'm Peter Wang. I am brand community manager of Intel, social media nerd, whatever you want to call me.
That's right. And we connect brilliant innovators, thinkers, entrepreneurs, and today a bunch of fantastic high school students that are building a really cool platform. And we've got Jeff and Ruby on the team as well. So welcome to Zombies. Be sure to check us out at siliconzombies.com. And want to do a quick shout out for our sponsors. We've got Nicodex. And if you're building digital products like on the web or on mobile, check out Nicodex.com. That's N-E-C-O-D-E-X. And Primero Negocios is a fantastic team that we're working for digital marketing. So if you want to get local customers, which is pretty important, be sure to check them out. We'll add them in our show notes. And lastly, but not least, Strike Tax. So thanks to Jonathan Cardella and team. R&D tax credits are changing quickly. And if you go to Strike Tax, you can learn about how they confront that capital and then help you figure out that on the end. So let's go ahead and get things kicked off today. We've got all sorts of fun stuff, including we've got newsjacking, which is a concept that Peter actually just shared with me.
Yep. Do you want me to talk about it?
Yeah, well, let's get to that later.
Okay, cool.
And that's going to dovetail into Peter's nihilistic tendencies, which says nothing is real.
Yeah.
We'll debate that. I think there's, we'll see about that. And then also the pause on AI. But before we get kicked off, let's do a quick roundabout for the folks that we have joining from all over the country. Shreeman, please kick us off here and welcome to your team.
All right, so we have 4 members here of our team. Out of 25. We're Alumnus Capital Foundation. We're a nonprofit, basically a group of students, high school students. We met together at the Stevens University in Hoboken. We all met winning a competition. Most of us placed top 25 out of 600-700 applicants who competed in a trading competition. And we used our minds together to form Alumnus Capital, simply spread financial education, spread financial literacy firsthand in the form of making investments as a whole. So yeah, I'll hand it off to, we have Shane here, our director of long-short equities. We have Vishwa, our director of quantitative. And then we have Ian Hartana. He's just a long-short equities analyst.
And me.
Great,
Yeah,
welcome to the show, guys. And quick disclosure, these guys are not liable for any financial advice that you're given. If you lose all your money in crypto, it's not these guys' fault.
All right, so we'll start off with...
Go ahead, you guys. Yeah, tell us a little bit more about what you're building and how the Silicon Zombies community can help.
So, yeah, and one more thing, we have Prati here, our director of communications, a great speaker.
It's good to be on the podcast with you all.
Nice.
All right.
Welcome.
So I'll hand it over to Prati to talk a little bit more about Alumnus and our goal.
Yeah, sure. So I'm the director of communications here at Alumnus. I guess just a little introduction to who we are, what we're all about. As Sriman said, we met each other through a competition hosted by the Stevens Institute of Technology called the Stevens Trading Day. We formed a Discord server and we all met each other, motivated high school students all interested in finance and stock trading. And we decided to use our interest in this, in this field, in this area, to do some good in the world. And that's where the idea for Alumnus kind of came about. We're a nonprofit investment fund, so we're a 501c3 registered nonprofit. Our main, goal is to take donations that we receive and invest it in a variety of investments, aligning with our sort of goals of building a better future. So we look for companies that are involved in say, clean energy or medicine or healthcare. Companies that are definitely in this, area of promoting change and on the cutting edge technology. And we donate the money that we make to charities that support financial education, financial literacy in communities across the United States.
What a terrific mission for you guys to do. I think that's brilliant. Um, what was it that helped you recognize that there was something that needed to be fixed? Was it kind of something that you figured out yourself, or was it kind of more of a macro trend that you saw online? Help us understand.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, sorry. You can go ahead, Streamon.
all right, yeah, sure. So simply, it was not necessarily something fixed. It was more of a lack of something existing. Simply, there was a lack of resources in a community in the United States. Um, Simply, where there was an educational group of students, or at least there were student managed investment funds in colleges. All right, I mean, pretty much every single business school or undergraduate school with a BBA has, Ross, what else, USC, Stanford. I'm pretty sure all these big schools they definitely have student managed investment funds with, especially Harvard, with a lot of capital that they invest in, dispute into the markets. But simply, we rather are targeting the younger generation, in this case, high school students. And not just that, we're making it rather than specific to a college, we're making it to a whole community of high school students all across the nation, and especially Abhinav, even Canada too. So simply, we're bringing this lack of a resource of financial education to students, in this case, high school students, but at the same time, getting on advisors such as college students and undergraduate students and people in these fields of finance to be brought on and develop an overall
So
very much larger community.
So that's a great place to stop for a quick moment because we've got some really seasoned mentors and established pillars of industry and community that are on with us, namely Ruby and Jeff. So I want to toss this to them, and maybe Ruby and Jeff, what is it that you look for when you're looking for a mentee? I mean, you're probably inundated weekly with people that are, I mean, because you're the founder of Art and Living, you and your wife, incredible power couple, just wild commercial success, but also people you bring people together. What is it that you look for when you're inspired to be valuable to somebody who's just starting their career?
Well, I want to add by saying I'm a heavy tech guy. I mean, I started 15 years as a coder with Oracle and probably 8 major complex languages to develop 60 of the Fortune 500 systems for all the major companies. So when I look at um, tech platforms, when I look at you're raising money to do good, the first questions I'm looking from the team is your background and what excites you about it. But more importantly, I get really lost when there's not a vision, a direct vision, and you've got a big team. So I'm going to be more on the question on who's the leader and how are you keeping the team focused with all the ideas that each of you have. And then
Great
let's talk
question.
about the core of what really you're making a difference. I mean, it's great to say people are going to throw us money, and it's great to say we're going to find projects, and it's great to say we're going to deploy them, and it's great to say you're going to do good for the world. But that's so vague. And so I look at more of if I'm going to meet with this team and mentor this team, I'm looking at really your focus and really which niche are you trying to impact. If you tell me there's more than three, I'm trying to change the ecosystem. I'm trying to change healthcare. I'm trying to change. You go on more than three that aren't even related. I've checked out. So I'm curious as to how you've picked this team, who the main mentor is to keep it focused, how you meet and discuss these conversations, and how you pick your options.
Yeah, those are some great questions, and I'll be happy to address them. So, you mentioned, I guess, how do we meet? What are our credentials? We met through this trading competition, and it was the top performers who sort of started this. We brought on the people who had the portfolios that made the most amount of money join this organization. So those are the people that are sort of behind it. Not all of us, we're high schoolers after all, so we don't have extensive experience in finance or accounting, but we definitely love the subject, and we really want to use those skills to make a difference, because I think this whole idea about Wall Street and money making, that's all really really common, but nobody's really able to take that skill set and actually try to make a difference. And there are other funds
Let
and
me ask you a question.
organizations that,
What,
yeah,
what, okay, so the specific question is, what difference are you trying to make?
yeah,
Oh yeah, I
it's a
can
great
talk
question.
about
So
that one, or do
financial
you wanna?
literacy is, or who else wanted to
Yeah, I
interject?
can I can add on to like the specific niche. So specifically, we're trying to help out like raise increase people's financial literacy. We know that a lot of schools and even like people in our community, like they hear about all these great things happening, like Wall Street making tons of money, but a lot of them don't really understand like the implications that it has, or the actual like things that go behind the scenes. And so we just want to give basically any high schooler, or even not even high school, just anybody, the opportunity to help understand and learn about the financial market and what they can do to either capitalize. And I think Shreeman will take it from here to include more about this.
So, like you said, different sectors like medicine, government, tech, combining things. Yeah, and you're out. Like, I completely agree. It's just one thing, finance. That's all we're focused on. It's just
So,
reshaping
so
the
let's.
educational system of
I'm
finance.
really glad to hear that you guys are focusing, and tremendous questions from Jeff Marinelli. Let's hand this over to Ruby for a moment, because Ruby, you've done amazing work with the female founders from all over the world for several years. Can you talk about that program and what got you excited about that?
Yes, yes. Thank you, Nick. First of all, I want to congratulate each of you. All right. And your
Thank you.
initiative and you're thinking out of the box. And I love what you said that, it's not just about Wall Street, right?
Yeah,
And that
exactly.
is changing so fast now with Web3 and AI. What I love about it is opportunity is going to open up to everyone around the globe. All right. It doesn't matter how old you are, what kind of experience you have so far. Just as long as you have the initiative and you're willing to put the work in, you can do it. Okay. And this has all happened within the last few years because of Web3 and places like Khan Academy. All right. So you all have the benefit that you're going to school in Western education. What I think is exciting, and I really hope that you're going to be reaching out to other kids in the developing nations who may not even be going to official school. All right. Like a lot of the girls around the world, they're not going to official school because their parents are not choosing to pay for their education. All right. Now, the thing is, through Khan Academy and places like that, they can still get the education. So, the thing that I really want to encourage you to think about is how do you reach out to as many people, as many kids as possible around the globe? And that is so available right now. All right. So what Nick was mentioning is that I have been a mentor for the last 8 years for US State Department program called techwomen.org. And it is a program to support STEM women, young STEM women from the developing nations like in Africa, Middle East, and Central Asia. All right. And the thing that I really want to talk with you all about, because I'm sure you're all brilliant. So you have no lack of technical knowledge, mathematical knowledge, science knowledge. The thing that is just as important for your success, particularly as leaders and future leaders, is the internal skills. All right. And what I mean by the internal skills is to really understand how to operate in terms of the skills in leading, in dealing with other people, in dealing with your own internal world. Do you understand what I'm saying? All right.
Yeah.
Because that's great. Because entrepreneurship is a very stressful role. There's constant demands. All right. So it's really important for you to really understand how to live with that, how to flow with that, how to ride that wave. And also, the whole thing, your IQs are probably all way up there. It's really important also to develop your EQ. All right. And I am going to challenge you. I am seeing all boys here. All right. Now, where are the girls? So, what can you do to reach out for the girls and also diversity? Okay, I'm a minority that is known to be good at math. Okay, being Chinese, right? That's what my minority is
Yeah.
famous for, right, Peter?
Yep. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I see a couple other ethnicities. Uh, I mean, the boy in the white shirt. You're almost like the token white boy here.
Hey, second by him, the other token white boy.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
We all have
Jeff,
our guy.
Jeff, you're our token like white guy, and and then Nick is our token young white guy, right? And so Jeff, you're a token. So what I'm gonna reach out, encourage you to do is how do you reach out to other inclusive people who may not as smart as you are, but they can bring value. Because it's been documented, all right? Corporations that have diversity of representation in leadership roles are actually much more successful. So it's not
But
just
you
about
know,
doing good, all
hey,
right,
hey
everybody?
Ruby,
So I just want to share those kind of values with you that you're probably
That's
not
a
being taught in
great
high
point.
school yet,
Yeah.
all right?
Actually, one
Yeah.
of the, I guess one of the things that we sort of, decided to pursue before was, I guess, bringing on and having diversity in our, our organization, making sure that, different identities are represented. So that's definitely something we've looked at.
can I ask one question? And by the way, I think you guys, as who you are, as you are a tech group, right? I mean, you guys really know your tech. When you talk about fintech education, I'm a little bit more of a different caliber. When you because I've been involved in rolling out systems for a long time, I'm more of a develop your fintech solution of what you're going to roll out, and I'm really more of a take one school and really nail it within the one school, right? Deliver your solution. And I want to hear what your solution is. An education solution, is it video based? Is it, how are you educating, as you stated, this fintech education process that you want to educate? I'm really big on mastering, three or four, groups within your that you have close niches to. And I'm a big collaborative kind of guy. That means you write your solution, how you think you're going to educate. What are you going to educate on? Is it, and after you create your program, start getting the feedback and take that open criticism of that feedback of what you've developed, because you don't need it to be just what you're thinking. You need to really hear what others are thinking. So I want to hear what your fintech education solution is to educate, because after you've mastered your three or four groups, then I'm with Ruby of deploying it and deploying it. And yes, and I do believe you should have a diverse group on your group, a little bit female and of all genders, because the group can really grow because you're going to need the support. So how are you going to, when you talk about a fintech education that you want to develop, educate the high school into this world, what's the solution you're delivering and how you're delivering it?
So I'll just quickly point on this, and I hand it over to Vishwa and Shane. But simply overall, there are a lot of organizations out there. There are a lot. They're just simply giving financial education to the youth and the younger generation. For paid, for not for paid. But rather, we're sort of giving that firsthand experience. That experience that you really don't get until probably college, probably even after college, but where you could actually be a part of an organization that invests firsthand with actual money, making an actual development difference, building actual reports, learning from people like we just made our new advisor, Mr. Woods, Jay Woods official. He's been on the New York Stock Exchange for a very long time, since 1992, trading on the floor. So we'll be learning from people firsthand like him, continuously as we grow with our advisor group, as we grow with our student group. It's rather a first-hand experience that you can't get for a very long time. And we're I like, as Peter was saying, and what Nick was saying, rather than fixing something, we're fixing that, we're replacing that lack. It's not a fix, it's a current lack of a product out there, and giving this firsthand education. And as you were saying earlier, sorry, I forgot your name, ma'am. What
It's
was your
Jeff.
name?
And how are you giving your firsthand education? I mean, how? How are
Yeah.
you
So
guiding
Jeff,
people
I
through
can
this?
I can I can handle this. So 2023 right now, there's a digital age, right? A lot of people are interested in business stocks specifically. Our outreach program right now, we've just kicked it out. We have about like 1,000 followers on Instagram recently. We're getting a lot of applications, and we're putting ourselves out there for people who are interested in finance or in communities around the world. Expanding on what Treeman also said, like there's no program or there's no specific program out there that is just going to let high school students, like we bring high school students fresh off the boat, and we bring them in on the table, and we give them the experience, right? We give them everything hands on from day one to the day they go to college, right? There are
Walk
thousands of
me through an
applications, and
experience.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
Walk me
So
through.
yeah,
I guess what
Shane
he's
or
trying to
Ian.
say is the just being a part of the fund, being an analyst at the fund is that experience that we're offering to high schoolers. So that's the sort of experience that they get working with us.
So, for example, we really work on reports and developing reports similar to financial institutions. So I'll hand it over to Shane, and then our long short equities analyst Ian as well, to explain a little bit of his experience being an analyst here.
Yeah, so the first-hand experience would come from creating the reports and choosing which investments to make and what qualifies as a good investment. That is the main thing is being active in a student managed investment fund and actually being able to invest real capital allows for firsthand experience in finance, which also improves financial literacy. And as we stated before, this is really a thing that has been capitalized in colleges and higher education, but isn't really accessible for anyone under undergraduate
So,
degree program. And that's what
so
we're
guys,
trying to change.
I'm so curious. Would you say that this is more of an approach of collective intelligence because of your team, or more of
Oh yeah.
artificial intelligence because you're leveraging new platforms like GPT, which are reading news clips, and then diversifying a portfolio correspondingly in these
Both. I'd
models?
It's
say both.
definitely more collective intelligence, I would say, like,
It's
working with
yeah.
interpersonal, I guess, strategy and coming up with ideas. And again, like, as said earlier, it's all about, making a difference. And the money that we're making will go 100% to charity, all the profits. So, we're just trying to figure out, different causes which, we can
Did you
donate
know
the
that?
money to and where that.
So like
Okay,
you were talking
this
about
is a messaging
collectivity
thing,
or
guys, because
current.
that when
Okay.
we had no idea that the money that was invested from these donations that you're growing goes to charity.
I just found that out.
That needs to be
100%.
front and center. I would say, Ruby, what are
Yes.
your thoughts on this here?
Well, first of all, I think it's it's just brilliant that you are high schoolers teaching other high schoolers. Like you pointed out a couple times, most of this financial education is college and above. All right. Because ultimately, what everybody wants to model and be mentored by is people that they relate to, the people that they feel. Because one of the things that's been missing for decades is that most of the investors, advisors were all male. So a lot of women, we felt like, okay, fine, we can follow these guys. But when women came in, that made us feel so much better because that's just a natural human instinct. We want to be mentored and we want to model other people who look like us, who understand us, all right, who are at the point of
Absolutely.
our life. So I think that premise of you teaching other high school, that itself is amazing. All right. The fact that you're also donating, I mean, that just touches everybody's heart, right?
Thank
I
you.
think so
Yeah.
many parents are going to be so excited by what you do
Yeah,
because
for sure.
parents want their children to become more responsible, right? But
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
kid
Yeah.
wants to learn from some 40-year-old guy or 40-year-old woman?
And actually, another
Yeah.
thing is the money that we make. We not only provide our impact is, I guess, twofold, right? So not only are we providing like ourselves that experience that different people, different groups can come in and learn hands on working at the fund. But also we can donate, the money that we make to organizations that support women in business, or minorities in business,
Yeah,
or any of those sort of
Exactly,
causes.
exactly.
but
The other
but
thing
isn't
that I
that
have not heard you guys, excuse me, Jeff, the other thing I have not heard you guys say that I think is actually key for you to say, look at, we can do it. You can do it also,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for
right?
so?
sure.
So
That is going
I've
to be
got
the
two,
biggest thing, I think. You don't even have
I've
to
got
be smart, all right? With
I've
with
got
the with the tools that are out there now, you could be sort of like a C student. And you're a C student just because school has not inspired you. But now here's an opportunity as a 15, 16-year-old. You can create your
Yeah,
own financial future.
yeah,
That is
yeah.
such an
All right,
exciting
guys.
message.
So
Jeff, I know you had
Jeff
a
wants to get a
comment.
little bit of clarification here. So
yeah, I've
Jeff
got
Marinelli, you've got the floor.
Jeff, go ahead.
two concerns. I've got two concerns to make you guys very successful. Here's if you're going to be successful. So, from my understanding, I think what you're doing is you're trying to get a bunch of groups of people to give to your nonprofit, and then what you're doing
Yes.
is you're getting a group of people to come and educate and do the reporting, do the AI, do the analytics, and go selectively once a month, once a quarter, pick certain stocks, pick certain things to invest in, right? And
More
then
often
at
than that,
the end
but
of the
yeah.
well, I'll let you clarify. I just this is what I'm hearing, and then if I'm way wrong, which I can be, then correct me. But and then at the end of the day, you're going to go ahead and invest, and at the end of the day, you're going to you're going to make a profit. And what I heard you say is great. We're going to take the profits and we're going to move them to charities and everything else. And what you've done then is you really deflated the purpose of all the work that you've done, because the goal is you're only going to get so much money. You're only going to get so much people give you so much money. You get 1,000, you get 10,000, you get 100,000, $1 million, and then all of a sudden you've made two. Well, the goal is to capitalize on the two, to take the two and invest it again to bring back four.
Yeah.
Invest it again. If you start diluting it by giving it away to charities and nonprofits, you're back to $1 million. You almost start from scratch. You'll never get to a win.
Yeah, we actually talked just about this problem,
So
when we were coming up with the fund idea, as to how much we're going to donate. How are we going to donate all of it? Are we going to donate, as much? What we worked out is
Ten percent,
we'll
ten
donate,
percent,
up. I'm sorry,
ten
what?
percent, ten
I mean,
percent.
it doesn't really matter. Just enough that we have, what we started with as the principle, that we can keep on compounding. And but eventually the money is going to charity one way or another.
Jeff,
That's
You
let me
know
let
what
me
might be
put
kind
this
of
right
a
here.
neat thing
So
is if you
initially,
guys took maybe half of that capital and you put it into maybe a handful of angel investments that were also student run. I mean, because you got look
That's exactly what
the
we're thinking
power.
about.
Let me tell you how Zombies got to
Yeah.
be in the top 5% of Spotify podcasts. It's because of the community. So this has been a thing live that we get to be a part of and experience and share and lift everybody up. I mean, Jeff and Ruby are perfect examples of mentors that have been super impactful. You guys must have that in spades. So maybe it can be like this kind of, I don't know, Ruby, if Light DAO might be an appropriate vehicle to spread visibility. Ruby, do you want to talk a little bit about Light DAO and what you're doing with Piam? Is that okay to share?
Sure. So Light DAO is a group of conscious entrepreneurs and investors. All right. So these are people who, we're very much in tech businesses, but we also want to invest in the future of humanity. So we know it's not just about the money, you know, and people who really are, like I said, passionate and looking at how can we create good in the greater consciousness and how can we elevate these values that you actually represent. The fact that you want to do good and you want to put your money into beneficial things. So the other thing is, I was just talking with this person who's a super marketer, and I was just talking to him about how Web3 and AI, what I shared at first, is going to be able to reach out to the underserved all around the globe, right? Whether it's younger people and people who don't have the opportunity, and how, all that training could be brought together. In fact, this is it's so synchronistic, because what I was talking to him about is reaching out to young people. And here I am. Half an hour ago, I got an invitation to come and be here with you all. Because you're a perfect example of a like a young group that he could potentially work with. you know?
So,
So,
Peter, do you
Yeah.
want to read a couple
Yeah.
comments from the?
I have a really important comment for you guys from the comment section in
Real
our
quickly, if you
chat.
mind, before we
Can
read the
someone drop
comments,
the name
Peter.
of this group?
Hold on, Shreeman, go ahead.
Yeah, real quickly. So, all right, first of all, we're Alumnus Capital. That's the name of our group. You can find our website. It's Alumnus Cap, like Axe Cap from Billions. It's alumnuscap.com. All right, so Jeff, I love the point that you made. All right, so about 10%. We initially thought of that. We thought, what was it, Proudy? It was like 50 for us. I think it was like three different parts or four different parts.
Yeah,
Sorry, three different parts
we
or
were
two
sort
different
of
parts.
thinking about how we
It
would
was
break
it
it up,
was
but
yeah. But I remember at one point it was actually like 10% for us or 10% for there was a lot of going back and forth as we were in our initial stages. But the thing is that we thought was initially let's start doing a more higher percentage. So it went to 40, went to 50, went to 60, 70. But then we thought to attract people, we'll do 100. All right, let's do a full 100% donations. And then when we become a larger and larger fund, of course, we're going to have to hold back some of that capital. I agree with you 100%. That when we work so hard to turn, let's say, $1 million into 2 million or $1 into $2, all right, like
People could
whatever
take
the
that as
case is, it's a lot of work. And at the same time, we definitely thought about those points. And as you were talking about, Nick, on the idea of angel funds, we actually even Shane, do you want to talk a little bit about that? So we had an idea on potentially, holding like our own if we make a lot of money as a much larger fund in the future. Then we can utilize that to then disperse into either hosting like a Shark Tank event, like the Youth Investor Society, which they're hosting. But yeah, your question, Jeff.
Shane, you can't do what you just said. Here's the thing. Whenever
Shreeman.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
Shreeman, whenever you collect money from individuals, charity or non-charity, and you are putting it to an entity, to financial institutions like that you're putting into investments and portfolios, you're telling people today that we're going to donate 100% of the profits. Then people are getting excited, and then you're going to define. You really need to define where these profits are going. What charities? People don't like
Okay.
bait and switch. You might have
Yeah,
half
no.
the donors.
And
Now-
this is frankly
I can
this
answer
this is
this,
why before when we were doing the pre-live and we talked about, legal representation and support. I mean that's just like foundational,
And
especially when you're sharing financial advice. So I would say that that's crucial.
And so when you define, almost like your thesis, you are saying we're going to give. You can't change it from 100 to 40 because they're going to say you bait and switch, and then you've got lawsuits for people that don't think that they
we
gave.
can set
You
more of
have
a
to-
cap limit.
I mean,
You have to define it today.
So okay, so I guess I feel like we're also talking a little bit about like this is just like the really like minor details. Like it's a nonprofit 501c3. All the money is obviously for charity, 100%. It's just how much do we give now? How much do we keep in the fund at a particular period in time? Do we give 40% of our returns, or do we and keep 60% to compound further? And then give that away. I mean, this is sort of just I mean, it's not we're not an LLC, we're a 501c3 nonprofit. So I guess if the question is, are we giving how much to actual charity versus what we keep? It's all to charity. I guess that's the answer.
Jeff, any thoughts there?
I'm a firm belief that it all has to be defined up front, and it needs to be really defined to where it's going, if that's your organization, and who it's going to. I also will share this with you. You got to watch how many cooks you bring in the kitchen, and educating. I think if you want to bring 100 people, you want to bring all the classrooms in, then you have 6 of you or 8 of you that are defining where the investments are going. But you can then create your quarterly reports of here's what we're doing, and if you want to be involved and listen in, and you allow them to listen and add input, but you need to have the buck starting with 8 experts or you 6 together. You cannot allow others to have input into this because you have to define an executive team and somebody has to be there. Too many inputs will be too many decisions, and then you will have chaos. That's
So the thing about that.
The other thing that might be kind of
Kitchen's a great
interesting, and this is more of like a structure perspective, is if you took your 6, 7, or 8 guys or gals that were on the executive team, and you gave them all a specific slice of a vertical. You know, maybe one would be looking at team or at companies to invest in medicine. The other would be
Tech.
Enterprise SaaS. You know, there's a bunch of different flavors, and each person,
consumer.
exactly,
Yeah.
each person could take that specific vertical and do research, bring that back to the team, and then collectively you make this data-driven decision on what's going to have the best return on investment. That might be kind of an interesting way. In fact, this doesn't have to be just for investment. It could be for any founder that has a personal team of advisors, somebody that knows finance, somebody that knows new revenue, organization, HR, deep tech. I mean, these are the kind of, Jeff, it looks like you got something to add here too.
No, I think you're on and brilliant. And I probably would team two people together on one vertical, because having input in both doing research and then back to where I was at
That's a great idea.
with Ruby is then you educate the entire world out there saying, look at, you know, we were involved in tech, we were involved in fintech, with SaaS, whatever it is, and then you're reporting back to the world of decisions you're making and why you're making them. Nick, I think it's great.
Thanks. You know, if you guys go back and listen to, I think it was episode 98 or 99 of Silicon Zombies, we had a vice president from Apex Financial who spoke to being able to use data to provide a stronger story. And, you know, you guys are in high school, you're going to go on to the next thing, college, a job, maybe you're going to launch your own company. If you can use data to tell this story, that will be invaluable. I mean, look at what Peter's doing. When he started with TikTok at Intel, they had 8,000 followers or something.
8,000 followers.
And now they're over 250,000. That's real data. That's real growth that you can't argue with. So imagine being able to share the story of where you grew the cash returned. I mean, that's going to be just marvelous.
I also really like that. It seems like you guys are essentially creating almost like a decentralized company, because it doesn't seem like you guys have a pointed CEO. And in this case, that's your data.
It's kind of a new approach to decentralization.
It's like the data. Yeah, exactly. It's like the data is your CEO. If you want to know where which way to go,
hashtag the data is my CEO. I like that.
Yeah.
Jeff, you got something here.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something here. Look at it. Now I'm going to put my marketing and branding, and I'm going to go back to Ruby's statement. You want to really, because part of this is doing okay. So if you're going to do fintech, you're going to do investing, blah blah blah. Everybody invest in great. It's a nonprofit charity. What's the big deal? Now, what the big deal is, you guys are young, and the entire social world is trying to promote transgender. It's trying to promote and bring success to the LGBT community. It's trying to promote these, stay away from the eco and the water, because everybody's doing it. But if you can actually go after the human rights issues, the real human rights issues, and really find places to fund, to really promote these organizations, and this lies all in Ruby's area, and she can talk about this all day long, and I'll let her. This is where she should actually inject here in a second. But the reality is, all of a sudden, news will start picking you up. You know, the 8 of you trying to make a difference in this entire, unrecognized world that we're trying to bring exposure to. Now you've got news media going, we're trying to make a difference, and now you're educating the entire high school system on everything that you're trying to make a difference in the socially wrong community. Ruby, why don't you really lead in? This is your world.
That's
So-
I'm sorry, if I could just, yeah. Also, I'd like to also add one thing. So that's actually a really, really great, point that you brought up. One of the things that I personally I'm really passionate about and want to see the fund pursue is providing opportunities for Black and brown business owners and minority business owners and helping them get off their feet. And
it's been done.
That's
been done.
It's already been done.
I mean, it could be done even more.
I mean, I guess
women,
capital has
stick
the
with
resources.
women, stick with transgender, stick with the LGBT community, stick where the underdogs have never had a voice and a right. It's women that have been discriminated against.
What do you mean tech?
It's really the transgender and the LGBT community that have really been beat up and really need support. And really,
Yeah.
you verbally, if you stay focused on those women and those three categories, you will get so much exposure and so many people behind you. It is absurd.
So Ruby, let's have you chime in here, because there's this concept of newsjacking that, in fact, Peter had mentioned earlier because of what's happening with Bud Light. But can you share a little bit about leveraging current trends in media and pop culture to be effective for sharing your vision?
And after Ruby, I have my 2 cents, but I would love
Sure.
to hear Ruby's perspective on this as well.
Well, first of all, Jeff, this is really kind of fun to be doing this with you, right? Because we've had conversations among ourselves as friends. This is so great because I really love that you get down to the nitty gritty aspects, right? Because as you
Yeah.
can all tell,
Good cop,
I'm
bad
talking
cop.
about the
Yeah.
vision and the potential, and then Jeff comes in with the practical stuff. Yes.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring this up is this is what you need as a team. All right. You need to have people with like really different perspective and different skills. And that's part of the whole thing about diversity. All right. Also, really diversity in skills. So, the last thing I'd like to just leave you with is that, the market is really moving fast now. I mean, like Silicon Valley Bank went down in a day and a half. Of course, it was building up to it. The point I'm just saying is that the opportunities are moving so fast now. And the way to do it is through alliances. All right. So as you're building out, everywhere you look, be looking at strategic alliances. The word that Jeff used before was collaboration. It really truly is. And this is the reason why the big companies now, the big corporations now, like Kodak no longer exists. I mean, Google all of a sudden realized, somebody's eating their lunch right now. Okay. That's why they called the Code Red meeting when ChatGPT came out. So the way to do it, even from the beginning, just start thinking, even as you're building now, like exactly what Jeff is telling you, get really good at one area, and then you can just go whoosh. All right. So in the meantime, be just looking at all the alliances that you could be creating, the alliances you could be creating all around the globe. So
Also,
sleep.
like adding upon outreach, right? Not only do we outreach to like people who are interested in stocks or finance, but we also have a quantitative team, right? This team also engages with the aspects of computer science for students in general. So like yeah, there are probably plenty of other organizations out there that give exposure to computer science, but what Alumnus Capital does specifically is we give exposure to computer science specifically in the quantitative field. So we kind of like we're not just targeting finance itself for people to like go to Wharton or go to Ross in the future, one of these big business schools, right? We're targeting like for an audience in general to like just expand in like the whole investment banking scenario, like in general, right? And computer science is one of like the areas that we're trying to heavy hammer it, like hard, like and go deep into, because like a lot of people think that when you think about finance, it's just stocks and stuff, but no, there's a whole computer science field out there. We can gain a lot more exposure, and that's what one of our goals are.
You know what? I would like to invite you to think even bigger for future down the road. And it is uh, life and financial independence for everybody. You hear what I'm saying? It's not just limited to people who are good in computer science. It's not just limited to people who are good in tech. It's for people who all have that hope, kids who all have that hope that they can create a life for what they want. And even the 40, 50-year-olds who are reinventing themselves. Okay? Because
Someone in the
what
comments is also saying data literacy. Shout out to Jacob.
Jacob Dietz, thank you. That's
Yes.
okay, good. And that's ALUMNUSCAP, right? ALUMNUSCAP.com.
No, yeah, ALUMNUSCAP.com. I think you got it
See,
right.
Perfect.
what I
Alumnus
want you
Cap,
to
good.
really get down to is you are offering hope and possibilities beyond most people's dreams. And that's what's ultimately you'll make the biggest impact. All right. They don't
There's a
exactly have money.
gentleman named Jacob. He said check out an organization called Give Well. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a comment, and he seems pretty on. Give Well.
Give wealth. Okay, take note of that for sure.
All right, so Nick, thank you so much.
Yeah, wonderful. And then
Thank you so much.
before we let you go, Ruby, do you want to share a little bit about because we talked a lot about community. Do you want to share a little bit about the event that you hosted with Payone and how that dovetails into tech and Hollywood?
Okay, great. So one of the areas I just co-hosted event was a small little salon with about 12 to 15 people this last Saturday, which Peter and Nick both came to. All right. And what it is, it's basically with this next generation Hollywood movie studio. And the founder is Pei Wang Xiao. And it's all about the merging between the entertainment industry with technology, AI, and Web3. Okay. So the reason this is important, this is the reason why they're asking me to bring it up, is because it's all about community. And like what you kids are doing is you're bringing community to empower people to be able to take the financial control. So we know pop culture and entertainment is one of the most important educational devices in the world now. Right? Where are people getting their education from? Through Hollywood, through media. Okay. So it's very, very exciting because we're actually going to be doing like Peter and Nick are going to do a whole show around this uh, podcast in early June around this whole thing of how we can give power back to the youth. It's actually like the whole comic world. But just think about Marvel Studios and the whole comic world is actually a huge educational device right now, particularly for the youth. So
Yeah.
this is another way of giving power back to the youth for them to be able to co-create stories, all right, and actually be able to participate in the financial rewards of being able to be a creator. So you're talking about getting everybody involved in financial investment, and we're talking about how can we leverage pop culture and allow creators, regardless how old they are, to be able to benefit financially. So this is a whole
Very
world.
well
Just think
put.
about a merging of Hollywood and Silicon Valley, and that Nick and Peter's going to be hosting something, a podcast around that in early June, around this company called Immortal Studios, and the
Yep.
founder Pei Huang Xiao. So I want to invite you guys to all come back for that.
Thank you, Ruby. And,
Yeah.
and
Thank you.
and what a wonderful event that was. So I really appreciate you hosting
Thank
that
you.
and having
Yeah.
us. And David Libby says, right, but Web3, we're talking about blockchain. Ruby, do you differentiate when you hear blockchain versus Web3, or are those two synonymous for you?
Well, I mean, blockchain is a subset of Web3, right? I mean, Web3 is so many different things. Of course, blockchain is one of the foundational uh, systems within infrastructure within Web3. Okay. Sometimes people use Web3 very loosely, they include a lot of things, but blockchain is the foundational technology that is so transforming our world. So,
Yeah, it is pretty important to define what we're talking about first, right? Because then if we agree on terms, then we can have a conversation about premises and logical conclusions and all the rest of it. And speaking of events, we are hosting a private event at the Park James on May 16. So we'll have Amy Palin and also Poppy Gamblin. So two wonderful, very powerful, incredible human beings. And so be sure to DM us if you're going to be in Menlo Park or in the Bay Area May 16. You're interested to come join us. Be sure to reach out here. Jeff, you got something. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, gentlemen, and I seriously hope that you bring more onto your team. You know, a few more of other, definitely women and even other people that
Yeah.
are of different kind. But more importantly, if I were to mentor you, I would sit back and say, strategy, strategy, strategy. Set them up weekly, set them up monthly, hit your milestones, set some goals. Say for one reason you want to collect $1,000 in a month. if you don't set a strategy for that, it gets lost. If you set a strategy and you make it imperative that you meet that, because what you want to do is you want to publicize your strategy so that when you don't
Okay.
meet it, you move into what I call panic stage to meet it. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to fail. You start setting a strategy and you miss milestones, then all of a sudden people start losing confidence in you. You set a strategy and you meet your milestones, people start believing in you. And that's the biggest difference. So don't take this, if you're going to walk into this world as business people as you are, you got to treat it like a business opportunity. And you better define your vision. Very define your vision. And don't change unless you make it announced to everyone we're changing. We tried something for 6 months, fintech, it didn't work. Make the announcement. We're going to give it another month, 2 months, three, whatever it is. But don't ever make a drastic change without letting everybody get heads up that it's coming. Because if you do
Yeah.
this and that you continue to stay on top of it and you document it, people have faith in you. They'll give you more. People check out when they think you don't really know what you're doing. And that's the thing that you don't want. That's the thing you want to prevent.
Especially if they were the ones that gave you that advice. So like, let's say you're talking to an investor to get advice, right? Because you ask for advice, you'll get money. You ask for money, you'll get advice. And they say, it'd be amazing if you could accomplish XYZ goal in the next 6 months. And you come back in 4, and you can say that's done. And we're able to accomplish that because you inspired us with that idea or that strategy. That builds rapport that Jeff is talking about. Because they know that you were listening, you have the ability to execute important stuff and getting momentum with the right people and the right team.
Yeah. And you know what Jeff was saying about strategy and communication? So one thing that is like old business model is like you really only tell the people outside the company what you want them to hear. That doesn't work anymore. Okay? It's okay to be authentic. All right? It's okay to tell the truth. That's actually valued more. Especially, for all startups, all companies, like how they say fail quickly but then move on, right? So it's really true. All right. So one of the things I really would encourage you to remember is just be open. All right. And that's where you'll actually get that loyalty from your investors and also from your customers, because then they feel like they can really trust you. Right. Because that's one of the big issues in business now, right? Very few people trust corporations now. So that's all being changed. And I encourage you to lead that, be part of that change too.
Do you
Wonderful,
guys have any
wonderful.
questions for us?
Yeah.
Jeff, I love your points. I think a lot of us, we really love your points. You make some really
I
good
just want to point out one thing.
take
Jeff,
back to
I
the
love that you were throwing questions at them left and right, and I love that every single one of you guys, no hesitation, boom, one person picks it up, another person picks it up. Like
Felt very fluid.
It felt so fluid, and the fact that you guys just like have your own like unique set of skills that you just like, that all of you guys just came in. I honestly, I was not expecting this. I don't think Nick was expecting this.
Freaking awesome.
I'm so glad.
The fact that you guys handed off the baton in between each of you showed that there was no ego, that you're collectively involved in the same direction. Kudos to you guys.
Yeah. And I know Jeff was having the time of his life.
Yeah,
I agree.
I don't know if
I
I made
agree
it
with
clear,
both
but
Peter and
regarding
Nicholas.
our team,
Basically,
it's around
if
a
you guys
team of
didn't take this
25
personally,
people. Oh,
he was just giving
sorry,
you
go ahead.
he was giving your entire team a compliment that you really are in sync, and that Peter and Nick just recognize that what you have created they like a lot.
So,
it's
Peter, let's
compliment.
hear about your thing.
What?
Weren't you going to talk about your?
So we were going to do conscious conversations because we got about 5 minutes left. Our friend Jules Bonacera came up with this amazing deck to help have more thoughtful, kind of less tech-oriented, more human-oriented conversations. So Peter, we're going to We're gonna let you pick here. Not that one. I'm just kidding. You can pick that one if you want.
And Jeff,
Okay.
real quickly, so our
Okay,
team's
cool.
about like
What
25
book has
people.
inspired you the most
Yeah.
and why? So, Streaman, we're going to give this to you. And then if your team wants to hop in, feel free.
Yeah. So, what book has inspired you the most, and why?
Can you put it up on the.
I got it.
Yeah.
Stock Market Wizards, all of the editions. I mean, if I'm going to choose one, I'd go with the one with Stephen Cohen by Jack Schwager. The one with Stephen Cohen in it, with that interview, that was definitely one of the best ones. It's just
Good
a
Stock
collage
Market
of
Wizards.
interviews.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a collage of interviews with like some big guys. It's Stephen Cohen in I think early 2000s, late 90s, when he was doing. I think it was early 2000s, and it was really known like how it was back then, and how
Nice touch.
strict of a character Steve Cohen was back then. It was pretty interesting.
Oh, gee. Do you think it's still relevant given the fact that artificial intelligence is kind of breaking down the difference in yield?
I mean, I don't think I have enough experience to make a thought on that, but I mean, realistically, I think that, from my understanding, I think it's still pretty similar. I mean, the environments is still pretty similar. It talked about how Steve Cohen was like just one person of a room of like 100 people, 50 people, and just sitting there at a normal desk like everyone else, with like a bunch of monitors. It was I would assume today would be not necessarily like exactly like that, but the environment, the analytics, it's still very similar. But with AI, I would believe there's definitely a lot of changes being recently made.
Well put. Is anybody on the alumnus capital have a favorite book that they read recently, or something that they'd like to share?
Um, I don't
I can
really
share a
read
book.
books. I mean, yeah, you can go ahead. I don't
Okay,
know.
yeah. So there's like a series of books by Warren Buffett. It's just called the Essays by Warren Buffett. And then in it, it not only like details basically like his process of going from like this small company that he bought, which eventually became this large company called Berkshire Hathaway, but it also talked about like his ideas on management. And I found that like super interesting. And I take it to heart like right now about like how he manages his company. And for him, he kind of does like an offhands approach. He kind of just guides the way for future leaders, which is something that we really want to do. We want to help just give people like that lack financial literacy or are underrepresented the chance to in the future like take the lead themselves, and then we don't really want to interfere and we just want to let them do what they want. So I thought that that book really just helped me like understand like a proper way to like handle the management process, and that was my favorite takeaway from his essays.
So a question. By the way, thank you for the answer. Are, do you have what percentage of the portfolio is interested in crypto? The reason I ask is because Charlie Munger, who's Warren Buffett's right hand man, he's been an adamant denier of Bitcoin and crypto and anything that touches cyber currency. So is that part of the investment thesis for Alumnus Capital?
Do you want to handle that, Shane, or do you want me to handle it?
Can I handle it?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so currently we have no desire and or no crypto in the portfolio, as we believe if we receive donations, that asset is, well, it's not even really an asset because there's nothing tangible about it. But we believe that would be too volatile in the portfolio, and we would not want to risk our donors' money basically being in a lottery ticket. So I kind of also want to spin this into what book I read. The book I read was The Little Book That Builds Wealth. It has a forward from the CEO of Morningstar, and it talks about, it also kind of has the Warren Buffett philosophy about choosing companies and stocks, but it has it in a very specific way. And the book was made so it's very easy to read for anyone. And it also talked about how, this is a way anyone, if you follow these steps, you don't have to be, someone who works at Goldman Sachs to, be a successful investor if you follow these steps. And, that's why I also really enjoyed the book.
Great,
That's
great
marvelous.
positioning, by the way. I think you're too young of a group, and there is a lot of negative out there. There's a lot of people that have lost money, so you're too small to give people any question, doubt of why they shouldn't invest with you. So the win is we're non-profit. We're making a difference in our organization. Here's the causes we're given to. That alone empowers you. You add anything that gives a negative tone, and that you only need one investor to say, I don't believe in it, and they've checked out, and you hear that noise. All of a sudden, you've lost somebody when you don't need to, when you've got such another clear focus. So it's not like you couldn't be in it down the road. Right now, you're just too young to be in it. Not young as a group, young as an organization. There's so many other things to pick from, the low-hanging fruit, that you don't even need to add any negative tone. That would be my thought of that. Great decision.
So thank you for that, Jeff. And as we wind up for today, I do want to give a quick shout out for You're Right, I'm Wrong, which is a brilliant book on relationships that everyone should read. So do a Google search for You're Right, I'm Wrong. Jeff, you're also available on Amazon in 15 or 20 different languages, if I'm not mistaken. So brilliant.
Also, it's Jeff. Are you behind? You're in front of the flyers for your book.
Is that it's a banner.
Okay.
It's
real reality.
Basically, if you're single, how to stay with a partner and not play the games.
There you go. Important stuff. And then Peter, you want to share?
Oh yeah, I wanted to ask Ruby and Jeff something, and something for this whole group as well. What would you say we do this again in 6 months?
Yeah.
And Jeff and Ruby, you guys can grill them as much as you want. You can see where they're at.
Yeah, we could see like the amount of capital that you have and what you've done with it, and the next time. So you guys are under the gun now. You got people that are keeping you accountable here.
Yeah.
Maybe we would have fallen.
Blame Freeman. He was the one that sent me a message.
Look at if the team wants to contact Nick and they want my input on some of the decisions, I can give a little time to help you steer. I'm a big supporter of helping. I always have. My time is limited, but Peter, and answer your question, Nick just calls me and I'm there. Doesn't matter.
Love you,
whenever
Jeff.
you need me, I'm honored. You guys have a great show. You've done a fantastic job with the show, even to the point where you bring these individuals and give them the spotlight to get their message out there, where they now can broadcast this, which you should, because it's a really good team and it's a good message that needs to get out there. So congratulations on your organization and what you're doing. I think it's admirable. I know Ruby feels the same and she's going to comment, but congratulations.
Can I just get one question? So what are some, because you got a pretty good understanding of what we are right now. What are some big things that we should, when we leave this podcast, that we should keep to our heart when we operate this?
Nick said it. Take your team, the vitamin 2s or the vitamin 3s or 4s. If this team is 25, put 5 people on a group. Stay focused where Nick was at on your research on it. My comment was publicize it, let the world know. Don't let too many people in. Keep it niche. Set a strategy, like Nick said and Peter said, and then absolutely what Ruby has said. You need to make sure that you're bringing spotlight to a diverse group, because, especially women, because you'll just be looked upon as an organization that truly is making a difference. It's really hard to say you're making a difference and I don't see a woman there. So that was Ruby's point.
Mission
I'm just going to follow up on that.
Staying organized too. And also to Peter's point earlier about newsjacking and trends and hashtags and riding that wave to get visibility and growing your digital community. So we are at the top of the hour, so unfortunately we're going to have to wrap for today, but it was wonderful having you guys on. Thank you so much for joining. Be sure to join us on the 2nd of May when we'll have another brilliant guest, and we're going to be doing an in-person event at the Battery in San Francisco, a senior executive at Microsoft as well. So join us next. Go ahead, Peter. Join us next, the Tuesday after next, on the 2nd for more of the best brains in the Bay. And until then, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Thank you so much for you guys for joining.
Woohoo!
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Peter, for modeling diversity and yes, all different arenas and different sectors.
Thank you, Ruby.
And thank you, Freeman, and thank you, Alumnus Cap.
Great job, guys.
Seriously.
Awesome.
Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you.
it's just the beginning, though. For sure.
There we go.
Yeah.
Wait, what am I doing? What am I doing? And broadcast.
Oh, I had to